Alright, what's going on, guys? Today it is negative 11 outside. It does actually feel like negative 20 with the wind making it feel a bit colder. And I thought this would be the perfect day to kind of test out how the Tesla really performs in like cold weather. With that being said, last night I came home with around 96%. When I woke up in the morning, it would drop down overnight 2%. So it was at 94 when I woke up. When I warmed the car up and everything, it actually dropped down to like 91 or 92. By the time I came into the car and I set the whole camera up, it actually got to like 90%. So yeah, it's currently sitting at 90%. So it dropped like a couple percent just by me warming it up and overnight. So I was actually kind of surprised of how much it actually dropped overnight. It was only 2%, and I think the lowest the temperature got was negative 18, which is kind of a surprising factor to me. I thought it dropped a lot more. So first thing on the agenda, obviously, is I gotta start the morning off with a little bit of Tim's, and I'm about to drive down to my the closest Tim's I have, which isn't too far, and we'll see. Right now I'm sitting at 90, and I believe I do not have regen braking. Usually regen braking kicks in after the car has been driving for a little bit, but I probably won't have regen braking. All right, so basically just by driving down the street, I'm already at 89%. And I do not have regen braking. So once I let go, it's not green. So yeah, I never expected to have regen braking, obviously, because it's pretty cold outside. The percentage is dropping like pretty quick. I will be driving quite a bit today, so we'll kind of see, and I'll calculate like how many kilometers I'm really driving today. Kind of a rough idea of how this car will perform, throughout the winter. That trip was about 4 kilometers, and it was projected to consume, I think, 1%, so around 89%. But it consumed like a bit more, so 1.8% consumed, and it's kind of giving you like why it did. So obviously increased climate control activity, which obviously I'm gonna have that on. Air drag, tire drag, and battery conditioning due to cold weather caused 0.4% this trip, and obviously aggressive acceleration, which you kind of have to do sometimes. But yeah, this is a chart right here so far, and I kind of want to show this one right here, the rated one. So at this point, I actually charged the car, and obviously this is my drive home. So I lost around like 2%, I think, on the way home. And then this was in the morning. This is when I warmed the battery up, and then this is when I started driving. So it kind of shows you like the limits and where you kind of lost consumption versus rated. This should be in the green, but it also, obviously with the cold weather, it's a little bit in the, or actually all of it is in the orange. And obviously it also gives you range tips. So setting the cabin temperature to 22 would have saved 0.1%. Is it worth that? I don't know. I did have it set to the highest temperature because I wanted the car to be warm, when I hopped in. But so far since the last charge, it consumed 7.3% consumed, and it was 4.6% more than the rated amount. So far, I mean, the Tesla's having a bit of a hard time kind of navigating this cold temperature, but we'll kind of see how it goes throughout the day. All right, so now I have a dedicated camera person. So what I want to do now is I actually want to drive to the Tesla Collision Center because I have to get a quote that I've been putting off in person. They actually told me to come down, and it's in Oakville from where I'm in Mississauga right now. So it's around a 32-kilometer drive. At the end of the drive, we'll see how much we consumed and in what areas we consumed it the most. So it's negative 12, but it actually feels like negative 19. 32 kilometers, we're sitting at 85%. It says we'll get there with 76% remaining. And then yeah, obviously we'll look at the graph again and see how and where we consumed the battery. All right, so we are sitting at 77% on the battery. We are 3 minutes away from the destination and 1.8 kilometers away from the destination. Before, when we put in the address, it was showing 76 upon arrival. On the way here, midway through, it showed 75, but I think we got regen braking back, so it's helping that now. So upon arrival, we should have 77% left. So it's just down the block from here. So I think the regen actually helped it preserve the battery along the way. So yeah, we'll also look at obviously the graph to see how it performed throughout this trip, and where we were projected to consume more or less. You just kind of look at the graph and see where we really performed well. All right, so here on top it says 8.2 consumed, 1.1% less than the trip projection. You can see at the start of the trip, it actually dropped down significantly, like it was in the orange. And then like midway through, I think this is the point where we started to get regen braking, pretty much all green from that point on. Down here, everything else was consumed 0.5%, everything else. Elevation was negative 0.3. And then the range tips, it gives 15-kilometer-an-hour wind from southwest caused 0.8% this trip. It is pretty windy, that's what's making it a bit more colder. Increased climate control activity, again, I mean, it's cold, so we're gonna have the heating on. And obviously driving itself was 7.9% of the bulk. So I wanna mention that I actually used FSD from the beginning to the very end of this trip. I think that's important to mention because sometimes the car's driving habits help preserve the battery. I think the regen braking, again, helped a lot throughout the trip. That's why we kind of arrived with like more than what we were expected to arrive with, even though it's just 1%. But yeah, I think the regen braking and now at this point helped it a lot. So far, like compared to the beginning where it was just tanking, like a couple percent just by driving down the street, it seems to be retaining that more often now. So more driving and more graphs. So this is basically what the car has been doing all day. If you'll notice, the gray line at top is usually what it's rated. Now I've been driving, I think I forgot the last time I checked in at what percentage it was at, but right now we're sitting at 59, and this is basically the graph. And as you can see, all of these are basically the conditions. Climate has been at 1.8. I think that was relatively like where it was at before. Obviously driving is 26.4% plus 9.2 because of climate. Yeah, so increased climate control activity, air drag, tire drag, better condition due to cold weather costs 14.2% since you last charged. So a lot of things resulting obviously in cold. I think it's more so with the wind and the cold weather that is taking more. But yeah, so far we've consumed since morning and driving around was okay, it's not focusing, but 32.7% consumed, so 13% more than rated. I mean, 13% is actually quite a bit, like compared to, like, I guess, I don't know, like it's hard to compare to a gas vehicle because I don't have a comparison, but you can see like right here, the gray line is basically what it was projected, what it should be getting based on ratings. But then obviously we're a little bit below that, but right here is pretty close to where it was projecting. But then again, we start to dwindle down. Yeah, I guess during the winter it's pretty tough. We'll continue to monitor. I'm gonna be driving a bit more here, so we'll come back and check how much we really consumed since last charge. All right, so a full day of just driving around. I went up to Brampton, all the way from Oakville to Brampton, so quite a lot of driving, a lot of highway driving as well. We only used FSD one time today, which is from Mississauga to Oakville when I went to the collision center. So I'm gonna show you the graph now, where we'll go over kind of wherever the battery consumed the most and where it didn't. So 64.2% consumed, 22.3% more than rated. So we actually consumed 22% more than what the car was actually trying to aim for. We can see on the graph there's actually no green. There's like a tiny bit of green right here. Same thing with the range tips, increased climate control activity, air drag, cost 25.1% since I last charged. So just the cold temperature and all the other factors included, it cost me 25.1% since I last charged last night during the same time. Going uphill cost me 8.1%, but then going downhill saved me 8.4, so it kind of balances itself out. Everything else is pretty much straightforward. Like I said, driving is at a plus 15.6 now. I just went up 0.1%. Climate was 2.8% consumption. Battery conditioning was 3.7. It's actually conditioning right now because I'm about to charge. Elevation was -3, so I guess that's positive. And everything else is 5.6. Obviously, with that being said, you can be the judge of this. It's hard to kind of compare with a gas car because I don't have a gas car anymore. This is how the Tesla's performing at -9 now, and then it was like around -19 in the morning. Again, this is Toronto weather. I drove a lot today, so maybe it's not a typical comparison, and it's a lot colder in other regions in Canada. Probably watch that to get the extreme temperatures, but it's pretty cold today, so I just thought I'd do this. I'm going to be driving a lot today, and I charged last night to kind of get a good comparison of a full 24 hours. I think this is one I charged last night as well. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. It's a pretty short video. I actually don't know how long it's going to be, but once again, if you did enjoy, please drop a like, and I'll see you in the next Tesla video.